I can't explain it, but I felt this feeling of I'm finally home. I've finally found a place where I belong. And I never felt like I belonged anywhere. I was completely oblivious to anything. It was very clear that this was my first big time set, where my director turned to me and said, "All right, Mike, that was a good take. I'm going to need you to speak to the DOP about your framing." I'm like, "You got it, boss." I turned to Steven and I said, "What's a DOP?" He's like, "Director of photography." I'm like, "Cool, got it, great." You know,
Hi, I'm Mark.
And I'm Kaylin.
Hey, Kaylin, what's up?
Nothing much, man. Just out here on your podcast, our podcast.
So, yeah, you bring up a good point. Our podcast, which is Department Spotlight. It's the show where we speak to our friends and colleagues about their experience in the film industry.
Today, we'll be talking to Michael Lawrence Potter. He has been in 3 of Luke Pictures' short films, and he's also in a feature film that came out this year called Triggered that is now available on BoxOffice.
So this is part 2 of the conversation with Michael Lawrence Potter. If you haven't heard part 1, then you can click on the link and come back to this one after you've heard that one.
Well, my name is Michael Lawrence Potter. I'm an actor and producer, but if you're asking what I do, I mostly sit around watching YouTube acting snarky. And every now and again, I act and I write and do some lawyer stuff.
Okay, so jumping into part 2 now of the podcast, I'd just like to ask, like, going into your journey and your background, like moving into law, like going into acting and moving into law and then coming back into acting, like what was that journey? What was the steps taken? What was the motivations? What was the thought processes?
Oh man, a lot of coincidence and a lot of serendipity, and without sounding too cheesy, a lot of finally being honest with myself and following my true aspiration. So I have been writing stories and acting since I was maybe about 3 years old. And it was never something that I thought about doing as a career. It was just something I did for fun. You know, I would sit in front of the TV, the Batman animated series being a personal favorite, and I would just draw and write comic books and stories. And it's something that I continued doing until I was 28 years old. And and then I'd be the cousin who would put every family has this cousin who like puts on like the Christmas plays, or like, you know, if you were coming over to my house to play like Cops and Robbers or like Power Rangers or whatever, you were getting like a full 3 arc story. I was acting out like one of my first bouts of method acting happened when I was 5 years old, when I was pretending to be like, I'd watched this documentary on samurais, and samurais, like their whole thing is that they slept out in nature for 2 days to get in touch with their spirit and their sword. So your boy went out there with a plastic sword, didn't tell my parents, went out on the lawn, sat there with my plastic sword, shivered and got a cold. But, you know, still the power was strong with the samurai. But, you know, you get into high school and then it all becomes, you know, it all became like you have to pick your subjects. So I picked all the things that would get me a career. So it was business studies, it was science, and acting just never was a priority anymore. And then I got to varsity. I was doing the law school thing, and a director approached me for an indie film and said, "Hey, listen, we need someone to play a jerk," which apparently is what every director now says to me.
It's your thing.
And, yeah, apparently so. And I basically just did a bunch of indie movies and a whole bunch of music videos in which a lot of the time I'd be standing, say like 1 or 2 lines, be a jerk, and leave. But getting onto the set, I can't explain it other than I finally realized where I was supposed to be my entire life. I just saw the manic energy of everyone running around, scripts being ripped up and thrown in the air, people yelling at each other one moment and then hugging and like kissing each other the next moment and saying they were sorry. The cheers like that came with a rap. The energy that I felt in researching my character and researching my doing work for my acting. I can't explain it, but I felt this feeling of I'm finally home. I've finally found a place where I belong. And I'd never felt like I belonged anywhere. And I got to this manic circus of acting, and I just said, yeah, this will do for me. Thank you. I'll take this. I'll take this for the rest of my life. And from there, it was, I just did every free moment that I had, I devoted to it, in the sense of that when I was doing my articles, it was long hours, 6 to 6, but I would get off work, I would change out of my suit, I'd get into my leather jacket, and I would go and hit the stand-up circuit for Monday to Friday, just doing stand-up at clubs. And then on Saturday to Sunday, I was very lucky to get into the Indigo View Acting Academy, which was kind of a seasoning finishing school for experienced actors. I had no acting experience, so I did an audition for it. And Stephen Feinstein, who is one of my acting inspirations and one of my favorite teachers, told me in no uncertain terms how wooden and horrible my audition was, but said, yeah, but we can do something with you. Come aboard. And then on the weekends, I would spend from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday and Sunday doing intense acting classes with these incredibly gifted and driven actors. And it was just this idea of, I didn't have a second to spare, and it was the happiest time of my life. It was working long hours, and then after that doing stand-up, then after that doing acting school. And then when I wasn't doing that, I was online researching acting techniques, watching documentaries. And it was just that, again, that feeling I was chasing of, I'm home, I'm complete, I'm here. And then one night I got my big break when I was acting on the Joburg Theatre in a play called Scenes, and someone who became my agent and a very good friend of mine caught me and said to me, yeah, you could try this acting thing. And I said, listen, man, if I don't land a job in like a month, I have to go to Korea, because that was my plan. I was going to go to Korea and I was going to go teach English, because I didn't have anything going for me back in SA. And with a month, my best friend, Stephen John Ward, saw me out of complete obscurity and offered me the audition for Triggered, with his lines that always killed me, that said, you're a little bit crazy. Can you do a Brooklyn accent? I was like, I can try. I sent in a two-take self-tape, which was 2 whittled down from maybe about 1,000 self-tapes. I'm not kidding. I did it over and over and over and over and over again. I did it to the point where I was literally photosynthesizing those words. And I didn't hear anything for a month, so I just assumed I didn't get it. And then I remember it so clearly. It was actually this time 2 years ago. I got a call from Los Angeles, and they were like, "Oh, congratulations, you're in." And from there, it's just been this incredible journey of Triggered, offbeat independent films, producing my own work. I'm in love with it. I'm in my first year of my career, and I could not be more besotted, more in love, and more devoted to what I'm doing. And I'm looped pictures. I've often said it. There is no Michael Lawrence Potter, the actor, without looped pictures. You guys took a chance on me when I needed it, and the chances haven't stopped coming since then. And I'm so appreciative of the rewarding work that I get to do with you guys. The warmth that you feel when you're on that set, of just so many people 100% devoted to their craft. And that's how you find me as I am now, from strange kid running around in his garden with a fake cape to man running around in his garden with a cape. Who are we kidding? Like, I'm still that kid. And it's good to reintroduce myself to myself, I guess.
Yeah, it's really beautiful like what you spoke on now. Like, I mean, especially like, first of all, I don't know what 5-year-olds watching samurai documentaries like so intense that you watch the full samurai documentary. But that just, I think, shows the kind of character that you're born to be in. Method acting at 5. He'd let you be proud, man, honestly. But just to touch on, like, you spoke of your journey from music video to short films to features and stuff like that and play. Can I just then ask, because I was wanting to touch on this, is your preparation, does it differ between like music videos to short films to plays to features like, or is it just about the duration of time? I guess, or do you take them all equally as serious?
I think that storytelling is storytelling. It's literally the idea that there is a character that is being asked to be played, and it's a human being that you have to give dignity to. So whether my character's name is Jerk in Leather Jacket or has a name and has a purpose in the story, I owe it to that character to set my ego aside and give that character what it needs. Like, I mean, I could easily say, oh, what, I've got 2 lines in this, or I just stand around in this music video. Oh, I'm not going to prep for it. No way. It's, first of all, I have so much fun doing the prep. Like, I look forward to it. Like, whenever I get a script, it's also the idea of like, man, you don't know what's going to come out of you, in the sense of that, if you just lose yourself to the character entirely, you could go onto a music video where you are in it for 10 seconds, but if you play those 10 seconds well, you could have something amazing for your show reel, amazing for future directors or investors or whatever. I mean, I've gotten jobs based on very random appearances where it's like, oh no, I saw you in like the corner of Kakul's music video. Do you want to do another music video? I'm like, yeah, sure. I mean, it always makes me laugh. Big Sip, one of the first film that I was lucky enough to do with Looped. My entire character is creep who drinks milkshake. And that, like, and someone saw that and said, we think you can play an endearing love interest. And I mean, you just
amazing.
And I mean, and the thing is, like, I didn't play Jonty in Big Sip to be a creep who drinks a milkshake. I played him as a fully formed person who like, Jonty doesn't know he's a creep, and Jonty certainly doesn't think he's a creep. He thinks he's cool as ice, and he's taking a girl out for a milkshake. It never occurs to him that, wow, this is not how you talk to people ever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think the only way that I can do it is if I lose myself in my role. I can't really dip a toe or go for a leisurely swim. I've got to jump into the deep end, almost drown, and then find my way to the surface. That's the only way that I can do this.
Perhaps let's go onto Triggered. What was the? I think we've got other questions that sort of fit under that, but sort of basically start out with what was the experience like working on that film?
It is, to date, the greatest thing that ever happened to me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Every single cast member on that movie is a longtime firm friend of mine. We formed these beautiful friendships and creative collaborative partnerships. And it was, again, that experience of the first set that I ever walked onto for that indie music video, of just coming home, except the stakes were so much higher. Like, there was, instead of there being the food is at the Boerewors stand across the street, there was like craft services, and there were these massive lights, and there were people with American accents and English accents and, South African accents running around. And it was just this idea of, once again, I'm home. Alistair Orr is such an amazing director. He really knows how to get the most out of his talent by making you want it. He's like a Jedi. He makes you want what he wants. And it's amazing to see. Ari is such an incredible producer. Nothing ran over time, despite the fact that both of the like, every single day we got rained out by the torrential January rainfall, and he just rolled with the punches. He was just like, yep, no, we're going to the next thing. No, we're going to the next thing. And the performers, everyone just pulled their weight. There wasn't a false beat in it. Like, everyone was working so hard. Everyone got along like a house on fire. It was, every single set that I go onto, as much as I love the work, Triggered is always what I compare it to. I always go, are the actors working as hard as they were on Triggered? And when I can see they're not, something that I took out of Liesl Ahler's book, who is one of my very good friends and someone that I regard as an inspiration. She kind of took me under her wing and showed me the ropes when I definitely needed to be shown. Soraya Rose Santos is another one. They were like my set moms. And because I was like, I was completely oblivious to anything. It was very clear that this was my first big time set, where my director turned to me and said, "All right, Mike, that was a good take. I'm going to need you to speak to the DOP about your framing." I'm like, "You got it, boss." I turned to Steven and I said, "What's a DOP?" He's like, "Director of photography." I'm like, "Cool, got it, great." And it was just the most incredible experience of learning, nurturing, and I'd have to go for like a 10K run after getting back from these long, arduous night shoots, because I was so pumped up, full of adrenaline. Like I could have gone forever is how I felt. Triggered is one of the greatest experiences of my entire life, and it's pretty much blessed my fortunes ever since, with either friendship, connections, and memories ever since.
It's funny you mentioned Alistair as well, because I was going to ask you about your experience with him. But then just in terms of also like leading into your screenplay side, like your screenwriting side, what notes can you say you took from like the characters and like being on set, like in your personal life, what notes and like beats and like learning experiences can you say you took that you want to apply to like your screenplays and your scripts and stuff, and like just in terms of how you develop a story in general?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I have to give a shout out to Dave Jones, who wrote the screenplay for Triggered. And I've never read a script that had such incredible dialogue. Like when you watch the movie, it's just one liner after one liner after one liner after one liner. And the characters he created are so multifaceted and so nuanced. And none of them were really likable, but you liked them. And that's something that I really liked about it. And I think it's because he told it in such an honest way, where he took a look. I mean, he's a Gen Xer and he was writing for a bunch of millennials. And he could have been like anyone else and just like written an overview of, avocado on toast and like, avocado on toast and Twitch and polygamy and whatever you millennials are known for.
The triad of millennials.
Yeah, that sounds like
avocado
so good.
Toast,
like
polygamy.
I always find it hilarious that that's what people think millennials are. Where really it's like existential dread, like existential dread, student loans, and avocado on toast. But I mean, that's just.
It sounds like literally the episode names for like some dope series just about like how to.
Precisely. But the reason why the characters were so good is because he wasn't afraid to be honest. He wasn't afraid to take a look at the people that he saw in the real world and said, "I'm just going to transplant you right here." And like the character I played, Bobby, oh man, I love him so much. He's such a sweetheart, so kind. I'm kidding. He's a complete sociopath. and he came at a time in my life where I really needed him. Right before Triggered, I had just been broken up with pretty horrifically. I was, I was depressed. I was overweight, and I was just like not in a good place. And then this character gave me this opportunity that Bobby did not give a single solitary F. He didn't care. And that's, he wanted something and he was going to kill anybody who got in the way of that. And there was something about that ruthlessness and that complete foolhardiness of I can do anything and may God have mercy on your soul if you try and stop me. And the fact that he was so preening and arrogant and he thought that the world revolved around him. And I was like, I kind of need this right now. And it was just such an invaluable experience because even in my everyday life as I live right now, when I'm starting to feel my confidence kind of wane, I hear Bobby's voice in the back of my head telling me to come on, bro, like man up. Come on, bro. Come on, dude. Let's go. I stopped myself at being a conniving manipulator, but in the beginning, the motivation is enough to teach me. So to answer your question, I would say the tips that I got from David and still get from David, he's a very good mentor to me, is don't be afraid of honesty. Don't be afraid of being unlikable, and do not be afraid of saying what's on your mind. I think the best thing that Triggered taught me was very little was left out of that script. And you can't say that for a lot of scripts. in the sense of that a lot of the time it's you create these big ambitious scripts and you start to edit yourself and say, oh, well, that would never work, or why would I say that, or that's too honest. So before you know it, you drain it of that authenticity. Whereas David taught me this thing where he says, write the exact script you want and let the producers tell you can't do it. Don't limit yourself. Do it as honestly as you want. And, the world is going to take your perfect little script away from you, whether you like it or not. You might as well get it as good as you can on the paper. And also, don't be so precious. It's not about you. I heard a quote the other day from Seth Rogen that I love, which is, a script is not a finished work. It's a collaboration for other artists to work with you. It's literally just you saying, I've got this idea. What do you guys think? And that changed everything for me, because now I'm not trying to write Citizen Kane. I'm trying to write something cool that me and my friends can have fun on, make some money on, and play real authentic characters on. I think that's the best answer that I can give.
That's a pretty good answer as well.
That's a very good answer.
Okay, so I also just want to just touch briefly just on the experience, but then also bringing on that experience of the legal side. But just in terms of because you've had experience on both sides of the playing field, but from what you saw, is there any big differences in terms of contracts or treatment to actors on big budget American sets versus smaller South African indie sets? Is there any big differences in terms of treatment or contracts that you can speak to?
You know what? I have always been treated very well on every set that I've ever been on. And I'm not just saying that to be diplomatic. I think I've just been very lucky. I've been very lucky. And the South African industry takes care of their industry. And that's something that I really appreciate. It's something that you don't get as many horror stories that you would expect. I think that we're all there to do a job. We're all there to serve a purpose. And no one's trying to screw the other person, because our industry is so small. If you screw someone over, especially if you're a working actor, that's all you do. If you screw someone over on Sevendalan, you're going to see them again on Binnaland. It's a small industry. You're going to bump into each other. But I would say the best thing that I see as a problem is that the negotiation of what actors and cast and crew, especially stunt workers. My word, stunt workers do not get enough credit and they do not get enough protection. Why the hell isn't there an Oscar category for them? I'll never know, but that's rant for another day. But I would say that there isn't enough bargaining power or representation for actors. There isn't enough of a safe net for them. There isn't enough of a community. And I find that contracts are often reflective of that, where South Africans are, one of the greatest things about us is that our work ethic is that set me on fire. Sure, let's go. Let's make this movie, which is admirable, but you have to protect your interest. And I feel that South Africans often don't dare challenge contracts. They don't dare challenge the rates that are being offered. They don't dare challenge what is on the table. Instead, they want to be diplomatic. They want to make everyone happy, so they just sign on the dotted lines. Whereas Americans, everything is negotiable. Everything is I remember the first initial offer I got for an American movie, and I was like, sounds great, let's go. My agent was like, no, that's not how it is. No, oh, my sweet lamb, you sit down. And and to his eternal credit, he negotiated a way higher rate than I ever thought that I was entitled to. And it's that crazy thing of I think a lot of South African contracts are created in this idea that no one's going to question it. It's created an idea that no one's going to demand more. And, 90% of the time, it's because studios are just trying to get by. I mean, you guys are a young studio. You know how tough it is to run this job. You're not trying to screw anybody over. You're just trying to get a movie done. And then, but the thing is that every now and again, you have people who are trying to buck the system. And to them, I say, karma's coming for you. And especially if you've got a lot of very savvy actors and actors who know lawyers. So I would say bargaining power and the ability to ask for more is definitely the big differences I see between American and South African contracts.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I've also noticed that, but not like just only in acting, like in every industry, like every department in South Africa, a lot of people will just be like, accept what they get. Like they'll have like even DOPs that are to the level of a lot of Hollywood DOPs, but because of the lack of like work and stuff in South Africa, I've noticed quality DOPs get paid like 3%, like 3/4 of what they should get paid and stuff like that. So, and it's funny as you mentioned that, even with you're talking about the stunt people as well. From my experience as well, I've noticed South Africa has one of the best stunt crews, and one of like they just know what they're doing, and it just seems like so like top standard and all that. And I agree with you fully that there should be an Oscar category for stunt people as well. Like honestly, it's insane.
Yeah, no, they really are the unsung heroes of our industry, especially when you watch something big budget like the Avengers, or any sort of movie where, I mean, I did a short film last year with my good friend Cameron Scott, and it was the first fight scene and stunt scene that I'd ever done before. And Cameron is like an absolute veteran, like he knows exactly what he's doing stunt wise, and he showed me how to do things like back bumps and backflips onto the floor and that sort of stuff, worked punches and that sort of stuff. I woke up and I could barely move my legs. It is painful work, and it is hard work, and you do hundreds of takes of, there's I think that every job has its elements of, like, acting can be hard, writing can be hard, directing can be hard, and stunt work can be hard. But the thing is that they need to get more credit. And I'm going to say it right out here for any stunt workers out there. I appreciate you. I love you. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
We'll probably end off with what are you currently working on, or is there any future big projects you would like to discuss? Kaylin said, basically plug your own work.
Yeah, this is basically that part of Hot Ones where you say, what's going on in your life?
Well, first of all, you can find me on all social media platforms at What's Potting. That's WHATSPOTTING. Otherwise, just type in Michael Lawrence Potter into Google. You'll find me. In terms of the work that I'm currently doing, the first thing I'll say is Triggered finally releases in South Africa, 10th of January. That's this Sunday, depending on when this comes out. So 10th of January on DSTV BoxOffice. So go check that out. I'd really appreciate it if you could go check it out and let me know what you think. Otherwise, in terms of work that I'm currently doing, I never want to be that guy who says, oh, I'm working on this and I'm working on this and working on that, because show business is one of those things that sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. So instead, what I'll say is this: I am working on a lot, I am writing on a lot, and we actually are filming quite a lot, but I like to keep the elements of surprise. So check on my socials. Work will be coming out in the next 6 months, I think. Otherwise, I'm just trying to be a person in a very strange and unprecedented time. So to end off on an inspirational note, wow, pressure, right? And I think that is the basis of my inspirational note. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Really, the only person that you need to fulfill is you. And the best way that you can do that is by taking away the expectations of others, and most importantly, taking out the expectations of yourself. That you don't need to be the next Timothée Chalamet. You don't need to be the next Christian Bale. You don't need to be the next Meryl Streep. You just need to be the next you. And you do that by getting out of your own way, being exactly who you are, and just having fun. Because, guys, this is the most fun job in the world. Whether you are a writer, a director, an actor, a grip, I don't care. If you're in the crazy carnival of creativity, you have got a calling that is going to give you a life of fun, adventure, and friendship. So get out of your own way, get out of your own head, and just go out there and do something that makes you happy. Because I guarantee if it makes you happy, it's going to make someone else happy.
Awesome. I think that's a beautiful way to wrap things up. I mean, especially with you mentioning just go out and be the best you. Because if you try to be someone else, you'll fail. But if you bring your authenticity to it, like you said, of David Jones' scripts and all that, just bring your authenticity and truth to it. And I think that will honestly just to make you stick out a bit more. And just for all the viewers and the listeners out there, a link to all of your social medias, to Michael's social medias, and everything will be linked in the description below. And yeah, thank you so much, man.
Like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe, Loops. They are my favorite YouTube channel that doesn't have anything to do with chicken wings, hot ones. I'm talking to you. But if you guys are not following yet, and you're not liked, and you're not sharing this to every person you know, stop that. Do that now. They're brilliant, talented filmmakers, and they will make your day every single day if you follow them, because you guys churn out that content. And I have to say, in terms of work ethic and in terms of quality of content, you guys are second to none. And I really appreciate being on your show.
Thanks so much, man.
I'm going to go cry in the corner now. And thank you so much, man. That was brilliant. Thank you so much, man. The shout out was really meant a lot. Thank you so much.
And one last word to any creatives out there who you have an idea, but you maybe don't have a connection, or you don't know how to kind of go forward. DM me. It's not every, I usually read and I usually reply. If there's a way that I can help you in this crazy world, I'll be happy to do it. Like, in this industry, it's a family. We have to look out for one another, and all you have to do is ask. So if there's any way I can help you, DM me. I'd love to help.
And that's it for part 2 of our conversation with Michael Lawrence Potter. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then make sure to hit a like. And if you aren't subscribed yet, then why don't you try to do that? And if you have any comments for us, then leave them down in the comment box below. We try and respond to all of them.
And for the audio version of this podcast, catch us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to your podcasts. So until next time, go out there, stay safe, and make your
movie. And that's it, part 2 of our conversation with Michael Lawrence Potter. If you enjoyed it, then maybe you'll enjoy all of the videos that we have over on youtube.com/looppictures. We have over 100 videos on films and filmmaking and all that good stuff. So until next time, go out there, stay safe, and make your movie.